Good morning. My name is Steve Schoenberg. I'm one of the elders at Essex Alliance Church, and I'm going to be sharing a devotional thought with you this morning. My text comes from the book of Nahum, chapter 1, verse 7. It says, "The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows those who trust in him." Nahum was a prophet who wrote in the 600s BC. It's a little short book, 3 chapters, 48 verses, and most of it relates to the pending destruction of Nineveh and the Assyrian Empire, which happened just a few short years after this was written. Nineveh was located on the Tigris River in modern-day Iraq, directly across the river from the modern city of Mosul. The first part of this book, though, really talks a bit about God and what he is like. Why this verse today? I was reflecting back on some circumstances about 32 years ago. At that time, my life was not working out very well, as I could perceive. My divorce was almost final. I had 4 children. They lived a few miles up the road from me, and I lived in my tiny apartment. This was not the plan, not the idea, not what I thought was going to happen to me at that point in my life. You see, I grew up in a very sheltered Christian home. In fact, you might call it cloistered. I wanted to serve God growing up. My parents were God-fearing and encouraged that. I thought that my future would include some sort of vocational Christian ministry. In fact, that's what happened. Beginning in my early 20s, for the next 13 years, I was involved in such a ministry. It was there that I met my wife, there that we were married, and had our 4 children. Unfortunately, neither she nor I were prepared for what we were doing, nor were we particularly well suited. Over that period of time, our marriage began to come apart. We finally decided we needed to make some changes. So after those years, we decided to move to Vermont and try to start over again. Here, 4 years later, now it obviously had not worked. So I was at a point in my life where everything that seemed like it mattered to me was not working. In the Christian home that I grew up in, divorce was not even contemplated as something that could ever happen to us. That happened to other people. It happened to people who didn't follow God, who didn't care about spiritual things, etc., etc. Yet, here I was. On this particular day, it was not that I have in mind, it was not a day that was different from most others. It did happen to be a weekend. And on that weekend, I felt like I really needed to hear from God, or pray to him at least, in a way that maybe I hadn't been as much of late. I'd been very much occupied in trying to develop new vocational competencies, in trying to be a good dad, which wasn't working out so well at this point in time. And life was hard. It was not easy. I was simply trying to plod along and get one foot in front of the next for the next day. But on that day, it was like I needed to hear. I just wanted to spend some time with God. Maybe he could have something for me. And as I walked out to a nearby meadow to just be by myself, this verse came to mind. Again, "The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knows those who put their trust in him." A very simple verse. But it's a verse that captures 3 very important things about God. He is not good. He is good. He is not evil. He is not good part of the time. He's good all the time. He is a stronghold or a fortress. A fortress implies both strength and stability. God is those two things. And he is personal. We don't say, may the force be with you. Rather, we say, may God be with you. God may be forceful, but he is not a force. He is a person. As I reflected on this verse that afternoon, it occurred to me to think about what would it be like if God was powerful and personal, but not good. What a scary world that would be. What a scary God that would be. Maybe he would be only good part of the time, and would need us to bribe him or appease him or bargain with him so he would be good when we needed him to be good, especially. Some people worship a God like that. Thankfully, we do not. What if he was good and he was personal, but he wasn't strong? He wasn't strong enough to actually make things happen, to change things, to intervene when we desperately need him to. This would be, in that sense, he would be like in the sense of not being able to act, he would be like the pagan gods described in Psalm 115, who say that he has a mouth, but he doesn't speak. He has eyes, but he can't see. Ears, but he can't hear. A nose, but they can't smell. Hands, but they can't feel. Feet, but they can't walk. Nor can any sound come out of their throat. But our God is in the heavens. He does what he pleases. Our God is a God who can take action when we need it, when he chooses to. And then finally, what if he was a God that was good and a God that was strong but was not personal? We would have a God that we could not lean on, whose shoulder we couldn't cry on, whose voice we couldn't hear, whose ears could not hear us, and who could not become a man to die on the cross for us. So what the God that the Bible reveals, the God that exists, is a God who is good, is a God who is powerful, and a God who is personal. And that day, as I headed back to my tiny apartment, it felt like I had a fresh look, a fresh anchor, a fresh perspective and awareness that God was there, that there is a God that I could love and trust, and he has proven that to me over the years. I trust and hope that you will, these thoughts will remind you of the same, and that they will help you move forward wherever you are in your lives. Thank you.